house rule you thought was annoying or hated as a child, but you swear by now as an adult? Story 1. Chores. The amount of people that grow up without knowing how to do dishes, pay bills, go grocery shopping, and cooking. It sucked having to these things growing up, but as an adult, I'm glad I knew how to get them done. Story 2. Finish a bag box of something: cookies, chips, cereal, etc. before opening a new one. We have hundreds of half-empty containers in our cabinets, and I can't seem to train my family into having only one open at a time. Story 3. Mine is filling the ice tray immediately after emptying it. Got in trouble so many times as a kid, but once I had roommates and there was always no ice, and then the ice tray also being empty, I 35 him near called my dad crying. I now enforce it in my household. Story 4. Doing all dishes and putting the kitchen in order before going to bed, no matter how tired I am. It makes mornings so much easier and more relaxing, getting the day started with a clean slate instead of having to look at last night's dirty dishes sitting there in the sink. Story 5. I used to think it was stupid that my mom deep cleaned the house before guests came ESP. My paternal grandparents, her in-laws. I said it's kind of like lying, right? Like pretending that the house looks like this all the time. She kept a super clean house as it was, and my dad had a rule against things being left on surfaces such as the coffee table or kitchen table, so I thought she was just being dramatic and stressing herself out for no reason. Edit: when I said that I think I was 8 or 9 years old, I definitely realized the benefit of a pre-guest clean now. Last year, my husband and I hosted Christmas, and I was literally cleaning for the entire week up until an hour before they arrived. Story 6. My mother made sure my sibling and me could survive in the adult world. She made sure we could cook basic recipes, do laundry, balance a checkbook, always hates that job, iron clothes, and basic hand sewing. These skills also helped when I was in the military. I would iron uniforms for personnel inspections. Charged 15 per uniform, it was mid-80s. I reattached a button for someone and they thought I was a sorcerer or something. Story 7. Everyone got the same meal. We all ate at the kitchen table. Everyone helped clean up after. Saves a lot of money. We all caught up with each other's day. It took almost no time to get the kitchen cleaned up. These are still valid reasons to continue the practices. Story 8. Put your keys on the hook by the door. If you were parked behind my dad when he wanted to go somewhere and you were MIA with your keys, he'd go ballistic. Story 9. Notebooks, computers, diaries, etc. are all sacred and not to be gone through. Can't say I hated that one, but most people thought it was weird. You could leave your deepest secret on the coffee table and nobody would touch it. I am the youngest of 4 kids. Nobody's diary ever got read. My sketchbooks were left alone. Computer accounts were not shared. Story 10. Teen children coming home by a certain time. I didn't understand it until my ex-husband didn't come home for hours in the middle of the night, and I thought he was dead. My kids didn't have a curfew, but they were told to leave wherever they were by a certain time to prevent speeding to be home by a certain time. And if they wanted to stay later, they had to stay at a friend's and let me know. Story 11. Don't wear outside clothes on things like your bed after a day out. It seems pretty annoying, but making it a habit of taking your clothes off immediately and having a quick shower before lounging on anything soft is great prevention against bringing things like bedbugs home. The annoyance is worth it if you've ever been traumatized by a bad infestation of anything. If you don't get it, count yourself lucky. Story 12. My dad had a strict rule of not eating past 9 or at least 2-3 hours before you sleep. I thought it was a stupid rule, and oftentimes I'd sneak around at night to get a snack. As I got older, I realized it's because it's bad for our sleep quality. Some say it's a myth, but I used to have a hard time falling asleep and had nightmares more often when I ate before sleeping. I've mentioned this to friends, and when they stopped that habit, they told me they slept better too. Story 13. Pinning my socks together. As a child, I hated doing this, although the process of finding and pairing socks after laundry took way more time than the few seconds of pinning them together before putting them in the laundry basket would have. Now, as soon as the socks come off my feet, they are pinned together and makes putting away laundry so much easier. Story 14. Please and thank you. As a child and young person, I found them pointlessly empty social conventions. I thought you should only say then when you really meant them. As a parent, it's please and thank for every little thing because otherwise I would have exploded with the feeling that all my work was invisible as a mother. Story 15. My mom was always very strict about sunblock, which was a lot less common in the 80s, 90s. She always absolutely covered me and would end up leaving white spots, which I hated. When I became a mom, guess what I ended up doing? Luckily, my kids don't mind. Story 16. Buying workbooks and learning practicing various subjects with your parents at home. Nothing crazy. If our daughter wants to have screen time that day, the rule is she has to do at least 1 page. She usually does it eagerly right after breakfast so that she can go on the computer. I used to resent my parents for it, but you can't fully rely on the education system these days. Story 17. No TV at the table. Dinner is family time and everyone eats together. I used to get jealous of my friends being able to eat in their rooms or their family eating in their living rooms in front of the TV. Now I get it. No screens at my table and everyone gets a chair. Such great family conversations and bonding happen around mealtimes. I do refrain from reading Bible stories, though. That was overkill, Mom. Story 18. Keep your hands off the walls. I didn't get it as a kid. I washed my hands all the time. Yeah, autism making me unable to handle anything on my hands. But then my husband's coworker needed a place to stay for a few months, and he touched all the walls all the time. He did not wash his hands like ever and left dirty hand and fingerprints all over the walls. Story 19. Take your shoes off when you come in the house. Enjoy your meal if you're invited over. Just be chill and respectful. It's an easy thing to do. You'll likely stumble out, so have a great time. Don't forget your shoes. Story 20. If you empty the ice trays, you immediately refill the ice trays. I'm not explaining what an ice tray is. I'm old. Research it. That's why the gods made the internet. Story 21. Starting at 13, I had to regularly help family or family friend fill out paperworks and go to meeting in order to translate stuff. I'm talking about asking a clerk for an invoice to register kids to school, go to unemployment meetings, fill up requests to get a lawyer. It wasn't a daily occurrence, but I hated to have to do it after school. Now I'm so glad my mom made me do it because it gave me the mindset that there is a solution to any issue you encounter in life. You just have to look for it and fill up the paperwork. Story 22. Not a house rule, more of a shopping rule. My mother would tell me to put my hands in my pockets whenever we went shopping. You break it, you buy it rules were in place. I'm 59 yo now, and I still do that. Once I hit the front door, hand in pocket. If I pick something up and look at it, hands in pockets after putting it down. I can only imagine how many times I must have been watched closely by security over the years. Story 23. When grandma puts plastic over her lounges, I use throwovers or blankets, but kids are messy. Furniture is expensive, and it can wear over time. I totally understand now. Story 24. If a house has both a living room and a family room, one of them should be TV-free. This wasn't so much a rule in the 1960s as it was economic reality, since TV sets back then were expensive. I carried it forward, though. In the 2 houses I have owned, the TV is in the family room. The living room is a haven of escape from the tube. There's a decent sound system for playing music. There's bookshelves full of a variety of books. There's a burning fireplace, a love seat, and a recliner. When it's my turn to watch a sports event on TV, my wife will usually retreat to the living room. She'll take a nap on the love seat, or maybe light a small fire if it's cold outside, and curl up with a book. Story 25. Cooking 2 meals a week on a budget. It was annoying as a teen, but amazing now as an adult. It was a massive blessing because I can cook from what is in the cupboard and keep to a budget and actually make a decent, nutritious meal. Looking back, it was a massive help to my mom, as it was just me and her, and she didn't want to raise another adult baby. Story 26. Running. I used to hate when my parents made me chill out and walk. Now with a 2-year-old that runs like a drunk giraffe, I completely understand LOL. Story 27. Taking the kitchen trash out even if it's not full. As a kid, I was annoyed with the extra work that appeared unnecessary to me. Now as an adult, I totally get it. Story 28. Teach your kid. Things need to be done instead of, do it because I say so. If you don't understand the differences in how these two impact a learning mind, you should not have children. Story 29. Dessert night is twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays. And no more, unless it's a birthday or our anniversary or something. I had that rule as a kid and I thought it was stupid, but my husband and I have been following it again for a couple of years and it just works. Story 30. It wasn't our house, but the rule was, don't put it down, put it away. By just putting stuff where it goes right away, without setting it anywhere else first, it reduces a ton of clutter and is a good mantra for my partner's ADHD. He has a habit of setting things on the counter or the coffee table and then forgetting it exists. It also helps keep items from getting lost, like keys and chargers. Story 31. No reading at the table. This has evolved to no phones at the table. My father brought the newspaper to the breakfast table once. My mother would not have it and let him know. No yelling, no argument, just the look. Story 32. Mostly every Friday was family movie night. No phones or electronics, no friends over, just family, a movie, and dinner. Super annoying as a teen trying to be out with friends and not being able to be on my phone, but it allowed us to truly connect as a family one day a week. I have my fondest memories from those nights and plan to implement that with my family. Story 33. Heard my mom come out of my mouth once. Door was left open to the yard for our pups, and caught myself telling my dog and my best friend's dog as they started wrestling. No roughhousing inside. You're either in or out. Story 34. My parents introduced me and my sister to a rule very early on, basically from the point we could understand language. They said that they had the final say on any rules, punishments, boundaries, etc., as our parents. but we would always be free to ask why. That meant they could never tell us to do or not do something arbitrarily, and that even if they weren't willing to budge on a certain rule, they had to tell us why they were enforcing it. Having worked with kids for most of my adult life, I can safely say this is a super helpful house rule to have when dealing with children. It helps with their development, and it increases your connection. Kids are like anybody else. They don't like having to follow rules arbitrarily, and they're curious to know more about the world. Very proud that my parents were able to stick to this rule. Story 35. No, your weird friend cannot come over to play. As an adult, there are certain people you just don't want coming to your house because they'll something up. They're a walking disaster. They'll break anything they touch. They'll clog your toilet. They'll traumatize your pet. They might not do it on purpose, but it's like their purpose in life is to introduce chaotic entropy. Story 36. Do not touch the thermostat unless you're paying the bill. Oh my gosh. I would wake up at like 3 a.m. sweating my butt off, only to find out one of my kids kept waking up chilly, and instead of closing the AC vent in their room or grabbing an extra blanket, they would instead crank the heat up to 99 in the middle of summer, mind you. Unfortunately, I have multiple children, and they know that if they all deny doing something, Mom will never know who's the culprit. So, it took finally catching the turd burglar in the act before they admitted to the utter audacity and stopped doing it. Alright, so I might have said some unhinged things while melting into a puddle at 3 a.m. Judge me IDK fun times. Fun times? Story 37. Making my bed. I love it now. It gets me going, gives me a sense of satisfaction every time I walk past my room and see it, and just starts my day right. Story 38. Immediately wash your dishes and put them in the dishwasher. If the dishwasher had been run earlier, congrats. You get to upload it and do any dishes left in the sink while it was running. Only exception was letting pots and pans cool down, but they were expected to be done after eating. If you cook for the family, someone else gets to do dishes. Hated the rule as a kid, but it is amazing at helping me keep up with dishes as an adult. Been trying to get back in the habit regularly because it is so easy to let dishes pile up. Story 39. Guests are not permitted on the second floor. Growing up, only family was allowed upstairs where the bedrooms were. My best friend had no idea what my bedroom looked like until after we graduated high school. I always thought it was dumb, and none of my friends had the same rule. Now that I own a house, I have basically the same rule. Upstairs is where all my personal stuff is, and I don't want to have to worry about people being nosy or making sure everything is put away and presentable for company. I don't enforce it anywhere near as strictly as my parents did, but it still stands as a basic rule. Unless someone has a really good reason to be upstairs, they aren't invited or encouraged to go there. Story 40. Clean sheets. Sunday. We would wash our sheets on Sunday and line dry them, and then they would go on our beds on Sunday night to give us a fresh start for the week. Story 41. My dad made us soak our dishes. I hated it. Now I'm the mom doing dishes and I get pissed when people don't soak their dishes and I have to sit and scrub them. Story 42. So I am going to be the odd duck. I had zero rules as a child. None. My family never ate together. I always ate alone in my room in the basement. My mother slept with the TV on. My father slept in a different room. My brother had no curfew, drank, partied, etc. Both parents were alcoholics. Shoes didn't come off in the house. Dishes would sit for days. Clutter was everywhere. Animals were neglected. You get the picture. Now, as an adult and parent, we eat dinner at the same time and together at the dinner table. We all help in order to lighten the load for everyone. Shoes come off at the door. We agree on a time to be home by depending on the situation. No alcohol allowed in our home. No clutter. Your home isn't a storage unit. It needs to be functional and clean. We rotate through chores. Each person gets a turn with simple tasks. Basically, my parents taught me everything I wanted to never be like. Story 43. No listening to something without headphones besides the TV when people are around. I wanted to listen to my Game Boy game music, but actually a wonderful rule. I remember in a carpool one of the kids corrected another kid for it before my mom could say anything. Story 44. Closing the kitchen before bedtime, especially nothing dirty left in the sink. If one of us left a cereal bowl in the sink, my mom would lose it the next morning. But I get it now. I really do. There is nothing more serene in my life than a quiet cup of morning coffee in a clean kitchen. Story 45. No big lights. Like OMG, my house is so incredibly cozy with all the lamps and stuff. Helps that I have put time and effort in my lighting plan. Unlike my mother though. Story 46. No screens in the bedroom. I thought my mom was loony for enforcing this, but damned if I don't enforce the same rule for my family now. No phone, no TV, no computer. The bedroom is a space where you can completely tune out, rest, and relax. Story 47. No shoes inside. I hate being barefoot and also hate socks, but now that I am an adult, I just have a pair of house shoes I switch into. But my floors are so much less dirty when I clean them, when there haven't been outdoor soles tracking in dirt and trash. Story 48. Eat together at the table. As a school principal, parents would regularly ask how they can best support the learning of their children at home. Eat together at the table. Talk and listen to each other. Ask for and expect opinions on each other's day. If you can do that and only that, you'll be doing more to help than anything else. Story 49. Slippers inside. Have something under your butt if you're sitting on the ground. Protect your kidneys. Thought dad was nuts? Realized he was just passing stellar wisdom onto a 5-year-old. Story 50. No shoes on the furniture bed. Never got it as a kid, but oh boy, do we hate that as grown-ups. Nothing worse than finding outdoor floor crust on your sofa. Story 51. Taking your shoes off at the door. Always preferred to keep my shoes on indoors when I was younger, as I've gotten older and am now the one who sweeps and cleans up. I very much enjoy going by the shoes off at the door standard. Story 52. Turn a light off when you leave a room. Got yelled at forever as a kid for this. As an adult, I swapped out my child's bedroom overhead lights for motion detectors. After 5 minutes of no motion, it shuts itself off. Did it in the laundry room and pantry too. Game changer. Story 53. Take care of the things that cost money to buy. My parents were lower, middle class, and in a rural area, but the cars were clean and in good repair. The house was old and wonky, but always clean and as nicely decorated as possible. My folks really got onto me if I dressed sloppy or as a ragamuffin when going out somewhere. Toys for sure were for playing with and having fun, but not destroyed. Just having some pride in what you've earned. I'm that way now, and I'm just amazed at the number of people that I see that buy a $500,000 house and don't mow the yard or pick up the trash in the gutter, or own a BMW and leave trash inside it. You've worked hard to buy yourself nice things. Have some pride and treat those things with some respect for your own efforts at least. Story 54. Clean up directly after you eat. It avoids the food getting caked stuck on plates and pots and pans, even if you do not do the full clean. Right then and there, make sure to give a quick rinse and a scrub of each item to clean them. Also, take the rubbish out before it's full. Not when it's full. About 45 is good, as more than that can result in leakage and spillage during the process. Also, unless otherwise directed, assume that it's polite to take your shoes off when entering someone else's home. Story 55. Don't bother mom. Don't talk to mom. Don't ask anything from mom. Don't need anything from mom. All of these are working much better for me as an adult than they did as a child. Story 56. Outside clothes and inside clothes. I have good clothing pieces that I wear outside, and the second I get home I get changed into inside garbage clothes. Some pieces I've had since I was 12, they last much longer. Story 57. No one in my house if I am not home. I don't like my daughter having people over unless I am here. Not that I don't trust her or her friends. I just don't feel comfortable with it. Story 58. Mowing the lawn. It took my years, but I finally have a work schedule where I can do it on weeknights instead of having to have it as a Saturday chore, so it's less annoying and my yard always looks nice on the weekends when I'm home. Story 59. Put dishes in the dishwasher immediately after you're finished with them. Also, if you're doing dishes, you do all of them in the sink. Don't just cherry pick which ones you want to clean. Story 60. Never ever say shut up to someone. I always thought it was a lame rule to live by as a kid, but now it's carved in stone for me. We may disagree, we may argue, and we may never speak again, but I would never tell even my worst enemy to shut up. Story 61. Don't flop on furniture. As a kid, I would be scolded if I sat down heavily or enthusiastically enter the bed. Now, as an adult and people come over, I get so irritated hearing my furniture protest when someone throws themselves down on it. Like, do you have no muscle control past a certain point or something? Lower yourself onto it. Don't fall into it. Don't slam doors. It takes half a second to partially engage thee and not let go of the door until the latch is engaging. If you have loud doors, try it. Story 62. 500 in the middle of the board to start. Taxes and payments from chance community chest cards go in too. If you land on free parking, you get the pot. Story 63. Not exactly a house rule, but as a kid I hated my parents for refusing to let me get a cell phone until I was like 13 or 14. But looking back, that was 100 the right call. Story 64. A former Navy SEAL admiral gave a commencement speech where he talked about making your bed every morning, because you have now completed the first task of the day, and completing one task often leads to completing other tasks. Very wise advice. I make the bed almost every day now. Some days are just too crazy. Story 65. Basic table manners. No talking with your mouth full. Don't stuff your face. Don't talk over other people. I'm driven crazy by the number of colleagues older than me who don't follow these basic rules. Story 66. No computers in the bedroom. Never understood why. My parents stopped caring as much when I was in my teens, and now am full of internet trauma and trauma from being groomed by older men. Yeah, I should have listened. Story 67. I call it closing the kitchen. All lights off except the one above the stove. Kitchen sink empty. Dishwasher unloaded. No further use of the kitchen allowed, unless it's a snack straight from the fridge. I grew up in a house with 2 older siblings, and I always felt like it was annoyingly strict, but now I'm 32 and live alone and I still do this. I honestly can't go to bed knowing that there's a mess on the stove and dishes in the sink. Story 68. Smoking inside. Would hate when I was a child and my mom asked me to go outside to smoke. Now there's no smoking inside my house. Not even for my kids. Story 69. Making my own lunch. My mom was a single parent. Once I was in secondary school, 11 years old, I had to make mine, and my younger sisters packed lunches. It wasn't a hard job, but I used to always moan to my mom that all my friends had theirs made for them. But it taught me how to prepare food, and a year or so later I cooked a few meals a week while she was in late shifts. I was amazed when I went to uni how some people genuinely hadn't cooked before, to the point that they didn't know how to use a can opener. I will be getting my kids into helping in the kitchen early for sure. Story 70. Not technically a house rule, but my dad was one of those parents that convinced me that having the interior lights on in a car is illegal. Then I grew up and realized why that was such a common lie for parents to tell. I can't see with those lights on. Story 71. My parents strongly enforced the 15 minutes rule. Once a day, usually after school, we had to do 15 minutes of cleaning. It didn't matter what we cleaned, just had to set a timer and clean until the time was up. Now, I find it easier to keep a space tidy. BC, it was drilled into my routine as a child. Story 72. Don't touch the thermostat. It stays at 68. Sorry, Dad, I understand now. Those kids. No screaming unless it's a real crisis. Emergency, fire, someone is hurt. Just no. Story 73. Take off your shoes. I grew up in a family where this is the norm, and my first job was helping my aunt clean houses. So it horrifies me that people walk around clean houses with them on. Story 74. I wouldn't say it was hated or annoying, or even a house rule I had to deal with, but I had a friend whose dad had a policy that once his pants were off, he was done for the day. Don't ask him to do any chores, to go out to eat, to have guests over, nothing. He was done. I never understood that rule until I got older, and now I live by it too. Story 75. Don't answer the door for anyone, even if they say they're a police officer or maintenance worker. Even if they have a uniform. If they won't leave, call the company number to confirm. Way too many dangerous people wearing costumes and tricking people into opening their doors. Story 76. Unpack your suitcase as soon as you get home. It's so easy, especially if most of your clothes need to be washed after a trip. The smell of leaving the suitcase packed is absolutely disgusting, and you'll feel good when your clothes are cleaned ASAP. Story 77. Just got done explaining to my 17-year-old daughter about not overstuffing washing machine. Funny how that was what I was always being told when I was her age. Story 78. Everyone cooks. Every single family member. As little kids, we helped under parents' watchful eyes. Then we cooked meals as teens. We shopped too and learned to find the best value. I can't believe how many adults I know are gobsmacked by what I cook. If you live where you can't go and shop easily, you learn to cook creatively. They've never had to make a salad dressing or sauce. They can't fathom mentally substituting ingredients. It's store-bought and from a packet or nothing. Story 79. Shoes off at the door. No purses on the kitchen counter or dining room table. Think of all the gross places you set it during the day, and don't run any appliances if you aren't in the house. I grew up lower middle class, but my grandparents grew up very poor, and we're always concerned about making sure your space is clean and presentable. Also, I know multiple people who have had appliance-related emergencies, including a college kid who never cleaned their dryer vent and their house burnt to the ground, so I'm paranoid about that.